welcome back to German. Here we will finish up our vowels by looking at sounds associated with O, U, and some other vowel sounds in German. So let's start with O. O. And our first sound we're going to look at is long O, which is O with a line over it. And this is pronounced O. And in German the rule is pretty simple. It's just an O. It's spelled with just an O. And that's about it. There's really no exceptions. It's a pretty simple sound anyways. So if you ever get this word in German, just spell it with an O. There's nothing else, to think about because that's the, standard spelling in German of the O sound. And an example is Vorspiel. Here you have the O for the O sound, Vorspiel, and there are many, many, many other words with the O sound, and they're all spelled with an O. So if you get the sound, you're going to spell it with just an O for the long O sound. Okay, let's move on to O with one dot. O with one dot is pronounced ah. Remember, it's not exactly the same as A with two dots. That's ah, and this is like aw. It's a little different. This is somewhat close to a short O, which is like aw. So this is like short O, so it's aw, not ah. Okay, so just make sure that's clear. And the spelling for this, it's mostly going to be an O, mostly going to be spelled with an O. However, it could be an A. Could be A. And if you remember when we were covering the first vowel sound, the A with two dots, which is pretty similar to this sound, it was just the opposite. It was mostly A, but it could be an O. And I said that most of the time it was going to be A for that sound because more words have that, and O was not that common. Well, here it's the same thing, except in reverse. Mostly it's going to be an O, and examples are Auflage, like this, and Ortstein, and even though these both are in the beginning, whenever this aw sound is going to be in the middle of words in German, it's going to be mostly an O, but you have to watch out because a couple of them are A, like Fußball, but again, this has the root ball, so that would somewhat, give it away that it's an A. So there are clues like this that can tip you off to if it's an O or an A. But if you don't know at all, it's best to go with an O because that's the best choice. It's more popular, and a lot more words have O for the aw sound. So O is more common. So let me write that. It's more common than A. So again, that makes it the better choice. Okay, the better choice. But A can happen, so you have to watch out for words with A. Usually, if A is in the spelling, it's going to be pronounced ah, like the A with two dots, ah. But for the O with one dot, aw, it's going to be O most of the time, but a couple of the words could be A. Again, they could have alternate pronunciations, such as the A with two dots sound, ah, and that could, help you figure out that yeah, maybe it is an A. So again, ask for the alternate pronunciations, try to figure out some root words or words you might know related to, the definition, and if that doesn't help you figure out if it's an O or an A, then go with an O. That's the best, choice. Okay? So that's O with one dot. Pretty simple. And the next sound is also pertaining to the letter O. It's O with one dot and an I, and that's just pronounced oi. Oi, so O with a dot and I, and this is pronounced oi, oi. And in German, this sound is unique because it has a unique spelling. It's going to be spelled with an EU. EU. It's a very German spelling for the oi sound. Let's look at some examples first. A good example would be Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude, Schadenfreude, see the Freude, Schadenfreude, EU for the oi sound, Deutschmark also, you've probably heard of like Deutschland and all the words pertaining to Deutsch, but Deutschmark is one. Deutsche Mark is a variant of this word. It has an E in the middle there. That's pronounced Deutsche Mark, but this is just Deutschmark. And then Schadenfreude. Again, there's many examples with EU for the oi sound in German. It's the German way to spell that sound, and that's one of those sounds that make German unique. However, it's rarely going to be AU, so let me write that here. Rarely going to be AU for the oi sound. There's only like 2 German words where this happens. The first one is Kreuzen, AU for it. So just learn that word, because that's, one exception. It's going to be AU. Another one is Fräulein, but this is also pronounced Fraulein. So, you can figure out it's an AU because we said that, or we'll see later. We haven't seen yet, but we're going to see in a little bit how the ow sound in German is going to be AU. But again, this has alternate pronunciations to help you figure out if it's an AU, and it is. So you don't have to worry about this too much. One pronunciation is Fräulein, but the rest of the pronunciations can help you figure out that, yeah, it's not an EU, it's going to be AU. So these 2 are really the only examples with AU for the oi sound. Otherwise, it's going to be EU. And we're going to see in a bit how we can figure out why this is an AU. But, shouldn't worry about AU too much for the oi sound because EU is definitely more dominant. Okay? So that covers all our O sounds, and we can move on to U. Alright, now U isn't pretty bad in German, so let's start U. And our first sound is our U with 2 dots. U with 2 dots, which is pronounced oo. Oo, just oo. Okay, so this is pronounced oo, U with 2 dots. And our rule in German is it's mainly going to be a U. Mainly, or mostly. Mainly going to be a U. Really, there's only one other option. It's just UH in a couple of words. A couple of words, not a lot, a couple of words have UH for the oo sound. Have UH. I think there's really only 2 main words that have it, so we'll look at those. But with mainly U, most German words are going to just be spelled with the U for the oo sound, like Bierstube. Bierstube. So you've got the U for the oo sound. That's, pretty normal, and that's what it's going to be mostly. A couple of words have UH. The 2 main ones are Nagelflu. Nagelflu. Here it happens at the end, and Ulan. Here it happens at the beginning. So these 2 are like the really only words that have UH for the oo sound in German. If it's going to be in the middle, or even at, any other place at the beginning or at the end, it's going to be mainly a U for all the other German words. So that's a pretty simple rule. Just keep it simple. It's going to be U most of the time, with the exception of Nagelflu and Ulan. Okay, so that's U with 2 dots, and now we'll take a look at U with 1 dot, which is pronounced as in book. So U with 1 dot, and this is also going to be mostly a U. Mostly, or mainly, again, mostly U. Pretty simple again. This one rarely has the UH again, so it's same thing as before, rarely UH. There's a couple more, words that have UH for the sound as compared to the oo sound, and we'll take a look at them. So let's look at the first one. Mostly U. Examples are Turnhalle. So let's write this down. Turnhalle. Turnhalle. Okay, Gugelhupf is an example. Gugelhupf. see, the U is just going to represent the sound most of the time. The rarely UH, there are really, again, two words that sort of do this. Example is Stromer. I think this has an alternate pronunciation, so that might help. Again, it's one of the two words that have it. Stromer was the winning word of the 2010 Scripps National Spelling Bee. Kieselguhr is another example. Kieselguhr, which I think this word has a variant. It can also be just G-U-R, so I don't think we have to worry about it too much. So again, you don't have to worry about the UH too much. These are really the only two words with the U in it. So again, to keep it simple, just spell it with a U. If there is a UH spelling inside a German word, most likely it's going to be pronounced U, which is a hard sound, but that's the next sound we're going to look at. So let's just go ahead and look at that. So just remember, for the sound, it's going to be mostly a U, with the exception of Stromer and Kieselguhr. And what I was saying right now is that there is a sound noted like this. It's an UE with a line over it, and this is pronounced U. It's like that French sound, like ingénu, like the U sounds, like your lips are rounded a bit differently to say that. But again, if you have a UH in German words, most of the time the pronunciation is going to have this sound, U. So again, the opposite is true. If you hear this sound, U, in German, you're going to spell it with a UH. So this is like U, and hopefully you can hear the sound when I give you examples. An example is Sprachgefühl. This is a guttural K sound, like that. Sprachgefühl. But again, it's Sprachgefühl. So you hear that U sound for UH. And Glühwein is another one. Glühwein. UH again for the sound. So again, if you hear this sound, which again isn't a very common sound, but you might run into it sometimes. So if you do, just spell it with UH. One thing you could always do is the Merriam-Webster CD-ROM. You could do a search for all German words containing the sounds UH, and you'll get a list of words, and then you can sort out which ones are pronounced U, which ones are pronounced and which ones are pronounced U. And then, you'll see there aren't that many words anyways. Then you can figure those words out, and then you can be sure on the spellings of all German words with UH. And then the rest of them you can be sure are going to be spelled with a U. So basically, all of U is pretty much the same. All the U sounds, U, and U. It's going to be a U most of the time for the first two, for U and And the exceptions are the UH words, which again you could always look up and figure out. But for the UE with the line over it, this sound it's gonna be UH all the time. And again, you could learn those simply by doing that search on the Merriam-Webster's CD-ROM. You'd see all the words with UH. Okay, so that concludes U for us, and we are done with A, E, I, O, and U in German. But we do have some other sounds we need to cover. Some other vowel sounds. So, other sounds. The first one is going to be the one I mentioned in this video when we were talking about the word Fräulein or Fraulein. The sound is A and U with a dot. So it's written like this, A and U with one dot, and this is pronounced ow, like ouch. So it's pronounced ow, and in German there's really only one way to spell it. It's a very common sound in German, so that's why we're looking at it, but it's spelled AU all the time. AU, pretty simple, pretty universal spelling. It's going to be spelled AU, all the time in German. Again, the sound is very common in German. You'll run into it a lot, so no need to worry though, because you're going to spell it AU every time. Example is Austausch, Austausch. Here you have it twice. Austausch, Au, Stausch. So for the ow sound in German, which is noted in the pronunciation as A and U with one dot, you're going to spell it just AU, okay? So that's very, very simple. And our final sound we're going to look at is our favorite, the schwa. The schwa. So, upside down E, pronounced Here, let me make this better. It's pronounced and it can be spelled with A, E, I, O, or U, just like every other language. So again, it's spelled with all of them. But German has some interesting spellings for the schwa. But first, you need to know that yes, it can be spelled with every single vowel. A, E, I, O, and U. So again, let's look at examples for each one, just to get a taste of what they're like. The first one is Palachinkin, 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 and the second A here is the schwa Palachinkin. So this is pertaining to that. The one with an E is Turnverein, Turnverein. So let me write it out. Actually, this word has two schwas. One is with an E and one is with a U. So turn, this in the beginning is for the U. Verein, the E here for this. So again, this is an example of both E and U. Turnverein. You got two schwas. First one is with the U, second one is with an E. An example with I is burn, not B-U-R-N, B-I-R-N, burn. Okay, got the I there. For the schwa, an example with O is kratagen, kratagen. And there we go. Now, how are we supposed to figure out which one is used for which, instance? Well, there really isn't any defining rule of how to figure out if a schwa is going to be A, E, I, O, or U. Basically, you would have to learn where it is in a word. Also, use your intuition. For example, with the word Turnverein, the first schwa, the A doesn't look too good in there. It looks like Tarnverein. The O doesn't look too good. It looks like Tornverein. So use your knowledge of rules. Sometimes the surrounding consonants can help you figure out what it is. Like with the T, R, and N around the schwa, the A and the O definitely don't look right because all four letters together, like T, A, R, N, would turn the sound into something different. So the consonants surrounding the schwas can definitely help you eliminate some choices, and you'll be left with just a few or hopefully just one choice, and you can hopefully use that. So again, the consonants can help. If you know any cognates, maybe this is related to turn, like the English word turn, then you can use that to figure out that it's a U. Otherwise, you just have to learn the word. If you can't find any roots or more than one choice looks correct. But yeah, the schwa is always a sticky spot in every language, and it will continue to be one. So yeah, just learn the words. A lot of the times you can visualize a word and it'll look right according to the rule. Again, alternate pronunciations will help a lot. A lot of words, the first sound is a schwa, but the second will give you away immediately what letter it is. For example, if this is like Björn, you know it's going to be an I. So it's burn and Björn, then you can figure out, yes, it's an I. So alternate pronunciations like that can definitely help. So again, the main ways to figure it out are alternate pronunciations, surrounding consonants, visualizing it, seeing if it looks right, figuring out any roots, figuring out any cognates. So those are basically ways to figure out if it's A, E, I, O, or U. But one rule regarding the schwa is that if the schwa is at the end of a German word, so if at end, and this is one of those rules that sets German apart from all the other languages, if at the end, mostly, not always, but almost 99% of the time, it's mostly spelled with an E. And a lot of the times when someone's learning German for the first time or German rules for the first time, that just sounds so weird and it looks so weird too. Because most other languages use a for the endings of words. French, Greek, Latin, Italian, Spanish, a lot of other languages, Hindi, Japanese does too. Yeah, a lot of languages use a for the schwa at the end, which is pronounced But German uses e, and we've seen some examples. Like we've already seen a lot in this video. Let's go back to them. We've seen Bierstube was one of them. Let me write it out. Bierstube. You were probably wondering why I was pronouncing the Stube. Again, the schwa at the end is going to be an E. We saw Schadenfreude. Put it down here. Schadenfreude. Then E. Sometimes you have to get used to the E at the end, but it's a very, very common spelling for German words. So, it's really something to look out for. Some other words with this are Pickelhaube. Let me write it down here. Pickel. E-L, Haube, C-R-A-U for the ow sound, which we just learned. Pickelhaube, the schwa at the end is E. Vorlage, another one. When I first heard this word, I was like, why is that pronounced Vorlage? It looks like Vorlich. But now you know that the schwa at the end of German words is going to be E. As for the rest of this word, why is it pronounced Vorlage instead of Vorlich, is what we will cover when we do consonants. We'll figure out why this is Vorlage instead of Vorlich. We'll learn all those consonant rules in the next two videos. Hope to see you then.